Well, I'm falling down the rabbit hole. I'm going to take this journey that Gilles Deleuze took in The Logic of Sense. In The Logic of Sense, Gilles Deleuze is absolutely amazing in his analysis of Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, a book from about 1865. Lewis Carroll is trying to write his Wonderland. He's babysitting a couple of girls by the river. I don't know if it's nefarious or not. People speculate, but I'm not about all that. I want to know, what is it that Gilles Deleuze is seeing in this treatment of the Wonderland? If you look at the Wonderland, it is absolutely an amazing place. Let's look at how Lewis Carroll develops it in the original book, not in the Disney version. Let's not do Disneyfication, okay? Disney keeps stealing wonderful books and folklore and turning them into stupid things. But now, in the book, in the first chapter, The White Rabbit, Alice is sitting there with her sister and Lewis Carroll, and she looks at her sister's book and says, "Oh, this is really boring," and she takes off down the shore. And so as we go with Alice in Wonderland, and she falls, and not knowing what latitude or longitude it is, she is saying, "Hey, wow, there I am falling deeper than I've ever fallen before, way deeper than coming off of a house or jumping out of a tree. I'm not going to be ever scared of those things again. I'm going to have tremendous courage in those things. I'm going deeper. I'm going to come through the center of the world, and I might drop out the other side of the world and keep going. I might have no limits." So her phantasm might have no limits. She could just keep going in the fall. This is a drop into the deep subconscious world of imagination, creativity, and dreamland that Alice is into. Carroll is the narrator of this tale, and it's doing what I call the anti-narrative, A-N-T-E narrative, and it really pulls together much of my work. If you work at davidbogie.com, you can see my academic work /Vita, or you can go to Enactment.com, how sense-making and in what we call Enactment, after the work of Louis Ralph Pondy, you can download the book there at Enactment.com, ENTHINKAMENT.com. But the work of thinking about the future, making bets on the future, she's betting on the future. I'm going to land in Australia. I'm going to stop there, or I'm going to stop in New Zealand. I'm not going to fall all the way through the earth, or I'm going to stop in the center of the earth. And there's going to be this magical, mystical place where I'll once again find the white rabbit, and I'll follow the trail of the white rabbit. My dogs and I were out there in the trail and drumming, and we were following a rabbit, and Sparkles went off to follow a rabbit, and Cuddle Bear, the other dog, followed along to try to find the rabbit. Of course, rabbits are incredibly fast, but this chasing the rabbit is something I remember doing as a child, the age of Alice, and it draws us all back into our childhood memories. And here we are as adults, having the ability to shapeshift, to get larger and smaller, to go back in time, forward in time, to make those auntie up, make an auntie narrative, A-N-T-E narrative.com, bet on the future, as I call it. 100 articles have written about that, and thank you very much. What I want to do is look at Gilles Deleuze's treatment of Alice in Wonderland. Why is he so fascinated? What is he finding in this phantasm, this Wonderland experience? Alice is continuing to drop. Notice the amount of time in the Lewis Carroll treatment that she's going down in the first chapter of the book. and she's wondering what latitude and longitude. I didn't even know little girls thought about longitude and latitude, but maybe they were smarter back then, or maybe schools are better now than the schools I was in. But here she is thinking about her fall. It's no longer sense making. Sense making, it's the five senses, as Carl Weick talks about it, my good friend Carl Weick. And sense making, sense creating, etc. Now it's what Louis Ralph Pondy called thinking, Enactment, Enthinkment, where I wrote a book about my mentor Louis Ralph Pondy. And I'm loving how all of the things in my life are coming together. My shamanic drumming, the Enactment.com, the antinarrative.com. We have a new website, Duncan Paley and I, tentativeness.com. It's interesting how tentative Alice has become. Now, tentativeness used to be, I'll use trial and error. I'll have the courage to experiment. I will sort this out, not even knowing the outcome. Now we've turned tentativeness into, you're just not having the courage to go forward. You're not taking the leap without thinking. But in tentativeness, there's a kind of thinking experiment that I see in Charles Saunders Peirce's work of the abduction. The abduction is you're making an intelligent guess about what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on or the outcome or the future or anything like that. And Charles Saunders Peirce was a very spiritual person, and he looked at the kind of spirituality of these guessings. And I've written books about it. That's the thing. I want to write books now and do these YouTubes. Why am I doing a TikTok? I'm doing it for my children so that they can, and my grandchildren, so someday they will understand something about my work through talking about Alice in Wonderland, because they know the Alice in Wonderland world very, very well. We all know it as Westerners. And I think as Westerners, it is that cultural narrative that we have to take us into the shamanic. And it's different than indigenous ways of knowing. It's very interesting that it's based on a very stoic Scottish person's authorship who's going off. And at qshamanism.com, quantumshamanism.com, we do these weekly shamanic drumming things where we explore the mythical. We go from the Matrix world. Neo was in the Matrix world, and he could take the red pill or the blue pill that Morpheus was offering, and the blue pill, you just stay in the Matrix where you are. How boring is that? I mean, good for Alice. She took the red pill and she followed the white rabbit. And like Neo in the movie The Matrix, Neo followed the white rabbit on the shoulder of the I guess she was a 20-something girl and followed it, and he followed the white rabbit, and he went into this world. It wasn't a pretty world that we Westerners try to think of the shamanic spiritual world as being for all good. But like in the world with Alice in Wonderland, there was some scary, creepy characters there, and she had to navigate that world and problem solve that world of the Wonderland. So it makes me wonder, how are we sort of sanitizing and Disneyfying the shamanic path when we treat the lower world or the upper world as this heavenly place or this space of the wilderness where everything is fun and good, as if animals didn't consume and eat each other. But here is a courage that's coming out of the tentativeness.com, the antinarrative.com, the Enactment.com, the qshamanism.com, davidbogie.com, my life's work in storytelling to develop a shamanic understanding of storytelling, a spiritual practice of storytelling related to my own path, our own path to be courageous, creative, and just follow the fragments, put the fragments of the stories together and do that work of the shaman.